Okay, it's very nice and beautiful to see everyone here. Today we will be discussing, first of all, today's the fourth class. I don't like saying it because it's endless. What you can learn about dating and marriage is endless. It's endless. But just to break it down and sum it up, we decided to go through a 6-class series, and this is the fourth. The Shabbos, I spent some time in Lakewood. Not really Lakewood, Jackson. I was by a very close friend of mine. And we got very into a hot topic of going out. He's a shadchan. He's a very smart man. And there are certain things I would like to discuss with you regarding what I discussed with him, because a person needs to open their eyes. When you're going out, you're not going out with your sister. People have an assumption that the person that they're going out with is someone that they already know. They have no problem acting a certain way, a certain teva. Sometimes they get a bit too comfortable. Sometimes it's the exact opposite. Their guard is up too much. So we have to dissect this very, 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 very carefully. So the first thing I want to talk about is how long should a person really go out for? And I know I'm going to say something now and everyone say, "Oh, Rabbi, you out of your mind?" And ask every person that went out, he'll tell you that's too long. Why? Because he went through the process. Lefi dati, to what I think, a person should go on shidduchim. As we discussed, the first 2 dates should be bikitzu. You can watch it online. A whole bunch of questions should be discussed mainly if you have certain common goals, certain common ideas, how you want to live your life, how you want to raise your kids, where you want to live, and so on and so forth. And a very important thing is how the person acts, how the person talks, how is the interaction of the person. It's extremely important because, a person that doesn't talk properly, it's very likely that in the future you'll be getting a lot of verbal abuse. People don't understand the severity of this. They don't. When a person has no problem using foul language, or chutzpah language, to whoever the surrounding is, you should know at the moment that's a big problem. If that's something you can't fix, and everyone knows to his own tchunot, to his own level, you should know that's something you should have a concern about. Because I remember saying this to the public, and I told them you should focus how a person speaks, and everyone's like, this is the easiest thing. Like, what's the problem with it? Yeah, it's not easy when she's going to verbally abuse you. It's not easy when he will verbally abuse you. It's not going to be easy then. When everything you do, you get put down for. For everything that you say, there's a whole Sipurat Mitzrayim over there. You can give your whole Megillah. I was talking to my wife, and I'm not an example, because I didn't say my whole life story. I'm not planning to, but whoever knows, I knew my wife for a very long time before I married her. And it's not something I suggest. I actually I'm opposed by it. I say this is not good. It's a very bad thing. But this is the derech what Hashem wanted for me, and that's the end of the story. But I remember one time we were going out. I wouldn't call it a date, but we were going out, and we went to. I'll tell you the actual story. We went to Carlos and Gabby's when it was still Rahmat Kuneh, when it was still alive in the big place. Right now, it's not even in a small place. And I remember we were waiting online and we got our food. And I just started to complain. On the spot. Naturally. Like, no filter. Why is this like this? Why is this like that? And she just, on the spot, not most people can do this because the relationship that you have when you go on a shidduch is much different. But on the spot, she told me, she said, "Why are you so negative?" It hit me at that moment. I could have said, what do you know? Miad bichlal. You're just a woman. I could have said that, which is not true. It's not true. People have this thing that women are under them. It's not true. And I contemplated at that moment, and I told this to my wife. I think it was Motzei Shabbat or Sunday. It was Sunday actually. We went out for a walk, and I told her, I want to tell you something. I want to tell you how I started to change my negativity of speech. As because you pointed it out to me. And instead of me whining like a little baby and complaining about it, I started working on myself. People don't, this is really what I want to talk about second, but I'll talk about it now since it came up. People don't understand how important it is to work on oneself when he starts to go out. Even before you go out, but before you go out, you think you're everything. You think you're the man. You're nothing wrong with me. You go to the yeshiva, you say, Rebbe, why I have to lead Musar? I don't need Musar. Who's the Ramchal? Who's the Ben Bahaye? Who are these people? I don't need their Sfarim. Who's the Balatanya? Who's all the Sifrei Hasidut? Who's all the Sifrei Musar? I don't need this. I don't need this. Until you get to the point of your life that you do get married. And then you realize you're stuck. Not because the other person's bad, chas v'chalila, because you never actually worked on yourself. You never worked on your midot. A person has to understand, in order to get married, this is the foundation of foundations. You have to understand, you have to work on yourself. You must work on your midot. You must. The concept of getting divorced is not an option. It's not an option. You know to who it is an option? To people who don't work on themselves. When a person doesn't work on himself and has this ego that knows the shamayim and says, well, nothing wrong with me, I didn't do anything wrong in this marriage, I didn't do anything wrong in this relationship, nothing wrong, what did I do? I just expressed myself. What does that mean? You're not a dog. You're a human, you have to think. And both parties. It doesn't go only to the woman or only to the man. You shouldn't think that way. It goes to both parties. You have to think before you speak. You have to understand you might hurt the other person's feelings. And if this doesn't start with you before you get married, when you get married is extremely difficult. And that's when you need to go through counseling, Rahman al-Itzlan, and you need to go to therapists, Rahman al-Itzlan. You as is struggling to make a living, now you have to pay money to all these people that are sucking out your money. For what? Because you were too lazy to work on your midot? A person has to understand. Let me explain to you how Kadosh Baruch Hu created human beings. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam she'akol nihiya bidvaro. Let me explain to you how Kadosh Baruch Hu created the world. He created a man and a woman with different tchunot, with different characteristic traits. In our nature, we're built with different characteristic traits. And I explain to you what I mean. I'm not saying one is an anger and one is a stingy. That's not what I mean. Our needs are different. Our needs of what we want in a relationship are very different. Very. And because God created it like this for us by purpose, because without the other, we wouldn't be able to create a family. A woman must be nurturing. She must. She must. If not, the whole family is the end of the world. A man must be a provider. He must be a protector. He must. It's in his nature. It's in his nature. Hashem put it in me. I didn't choose. I didn't choose to be this. Trust me, I'd rather be nurturing. I'd rather be home, take care of the kids, play with them. But no, Hashem said, no, it's not for you, ya habibi. You gotta go, and you gotta work on yourself, and you have to be a provider, and you have to know. With saying this, you have to understand how to tap into these two things. A man, when someone says, but I love him, or but I love her, you have to ask them, mahi ahava, what is love? Everyone comes with a picture of today is Valentine's Day. Hashem yishmor v'rachem, this Valentino guy, he met a girl the first time when he was 40 years old. They made a holiday over a guy that met a girl when he was 40. Can you imagine what Medina we live in? We're supposed to praise people that met their shatchanut, they met their and he didn't even marry her then, whatever the case is. He was a pervert, he was a sonné, he was crazy. And we're celebrating these things. And we think, oh, it's cultural, Rabbi. No, it's not cultural. It's shtuyot. It's crazy. You know when Valentine's is? Every Shabbat when you bring your wife flowers. That's Valentine's Day. When's Kivud Avayim? When is Father's Day and Mother's Day? Every single day. Oh, you're too primitive. I'm not primitive. I promise you I'm not primitive. Because when you're going to want your husband to give you attention, he's going to say, Valentine's Day only. Only on Valentine's Day. What happened? I thought we're married. No, you like Valentine's Day. So my duties to give you attention is only on Valentine's Day. So it's not primitive. It's the need of a human being. For a man, you have to understand, there's nothing wrong with it. This is how the way God created us. For a man, love is respect. For a man, love is when you don't put him down. For a man, love is when he knows that he is valued. If a man doesn't feel that, he does not feel love. A man doesn't need a kiss. He doesn't need kuchi puchi. He doesn't need none of that. He doesn't need you to bring him flowers. He doesn't need it. He doesn't want it. He doesn't want it. And for a woman, it's the exact opposite. She needs to know that you are always there for her. She needs to know that you're putting set aside time for her. She needs to know that you're willing to do anything for her. And if you're not willing to do it, you're not ready to get married. If you're not ready to put away your friends, and if you're not ready to put away your tavot, to segregate your time just for her, you're not ready. And if she doesn't understand that in her value of life has to be that this man that I married, even though he's not perfect, and even though you just got married, and even though you're going through a bumpy road, he's still the man of the house. It's the end of the sipur. And when you come with that communication that he's everything and she's everything, then nothing can break it. Nothing can break it. We live in a society that everyone has to know everyone's personal life. For what? Can I know why? Explain to me the logic. Explain to me the logic of why all your friends gotta know every detail of your life. Why? For who? Ya Habibi, for who? What are you trying to get behind? That's what you want? Go to the mirror. I'm telling you, it works better. Go to the mirror and clap for yourself. That's the only kapayim you need. You cannot feel, you have to understand, marriage is not an emotional thing. It's not. It's pure based on intellect. The emotions have to build up slowly. If a guy goes and says, I want to marry her after the first date, that's a problem. Ya Habibi, it's a big problem, as is to any married man. It's a huge problem. And the girl says the same thing, it's a huge problem because they're not looking at the person for who he is. They're looking at the person for what he is. And that's bad. You cannot say, wow, look at her. Did you see her? Wow, that picture they gave me does not do her justice. She's beyond that picture. So then what are you looking for? You're looking for a supermodel? You're not ready to get married. That's not the purpose of marriage. It's not. And vice versa, the other way around. The other way around. So that's why when you go on your shidduchim, your first two, and for some people even a third date, it depends on which world you are, you have to honestly ask yourself, even though with all the goodies that he's coming, is this the person that I want to spend the rest of my life with? Do we have normal conversation? Is the conversation flowing? Is the conversation not just about him or not just about me? Is it about us? Even though you don't know her really, and she doesn't know you. Is each one talking about the other? Is each one trying to get to know each other? Or we're going to just close our eyes and say, oh, I'm full of love, which you're not. You're full of lust. That's what it is. Before you're married, you don't love no one. You lust them. You don't even know you don't fathom what it is to love. To love means you can't do anything without that person. That's real ahava. Ahava comes to the extending mental state of mind that this person is your rock. This person is the reason why you live. And you will never ever feel that by going out with a human being. Never. You can go out with a person for 10 years, you won't feel it. You'll feel lust, you'll feel tava. That's what you'll feel. You'll feel, when's the next time can I by mistake touch the person, right? By mistake, we're just mistake. Rabbi, I'm shomer nigiyah. Rabbi, you don't know me, I'm such a machmir. I'm so machmir. I'm telling you, if she doesn't come with the tights and she doesn't look like a grandma, the whole 9 yards. But sometimes we touch like this. Are you crazy? Did you lose your brain? What are you interfering? You're interfering emotions right now. And don't get me wrong, of course you have to feel a certain attractiveness. 100%. I spoke to my Rebbeim about this in length. My Rebbe said if a man just gets married because he wants to be a tzaddik, you know those tzaddikim, I'm not looking at that, and he gets married, he has atkafat lev the first day. That's being an idiot, that's being stupid. You have to know you're coming home and you find a certain attractiveness to the person. But should that be the basis of why you're getting married? Absolutely not. So how long should this dating process go? How long? All I'm going to tell you is the longer you stretch it, the more problems come up. And you might say, but these problems may be good. Maybe they're good if they come up. Maybe I'll learn something. No, because these problems that you're having, they're not based on you and her. They're based on everyone around you. That's bothering the relationship. It comes from the parents and the grandparents and the friends and the uncles and the aunts. And no one ever stopped and say, Ya Habibi, are you happy with her? Is she happy with you? Then we won't get involved. But instead, everyone has to shove their nose where it doesn't belong to them and give their opinion. And instead of them having an enjoyable time when they're going out or when they get engaged, you're just fighting. And you say, I don't want the shidduch. I'm breaking it up. Why are you breaking it up? No, we fight too much. No, you don't fight too much. The people around you make you fight too much. That's the difference. You know, misery only seeks misery. People that are miserable only know how to give vibes of misery. People that are happy and joyful only know how to give a vibe of happy and joyful. It's a fact. I've seen it with my eyes last week. I seen it. When I saw what my wife showed me, I was dumbfounded. I had no words. I couldn't sleep the whole night. I said, how is this possible? And she told me something very beautiful. She said, misery seeks misery. When someone's miserable, they're trying to make other people miserable too. They're not going to find the good in things. They're not going to look out and say, it's a positive thing. You know, I asked my Rebbe actually told me, we were discussing certain facts, and he said, Asher, let me ask you a question. How come HaKadosh Baruch Hu didn't give the Torah to the Jewish people, the Torah to the Jewish people, right after the story of splitting of the sea? Why? We were on our peakest high, no? We saw the Yam Suf. We were on the high of the world. Why didn't he give us the Torah? My Rebbe said because he needed the Jews to hit rock bottom. What was the rock bottom? Amalek. You will never value anything in your life, if you don't hit rock bottom. When a person only thinks, and this goes very much so, I want to get married to someone that's filthy rich. I want to get married for the wrong reasons. You will never ever hit rock bottom. And when you do hit rock bottom in your marriage, you won't hit rock bottom before you're married. Why? Because everything's fluffy. He's giving you everything, or she's giving you everything. Everything's lovey-dovey. The marriage will be the most high-end. But when you get married, when you hit the rock bottom when you're married, it's the end of the show. Why? Because you didn't know how to act towards it. You didn't know what to expect. Wow, your parents are so stingy. No, they're not stingy. Go get up and go get a job. Get up and figure out your life. No free lunches over here. So the reason why you're going out shouldn't be for the bad reason. And this also goes for yeshiva guys or yeshiva girls. Don't think you're patur from anything. Marriage doesn't ask you. The Yitzhar doesn't ask you, oh, you learned in kollel? Okay, so today I'm not going to bother you. Oh, today you worked hard? I'm not. No. He'll bother you. Ve'od ech, he will bother you. Ve'od ech. Don't think you're going to look for a girl that's extremely rich and the father-in-law is going to take care of you. It doesn't go this way, Rabbi Isai. And you want to hear some advice? You don't want it. It breaks a man from being a man. It breaks him from actually giving the most attention to his wife. It does. It does. I'm telling you fact. It breaks you from giving your full potential to you. And you should want that. You should want a guy that will be able to handle you for who you are. And you should be able to find a girl that can handle you for who you are. You guys are not perfect. No one's perfect. I know you think you guys are perfect. Who do you guys think you're perfect? The greatest Musar Sefer is your spouse. I'm not here to scare you. I'm here to hit you with reality of life. Because people don't hear the reality. They get into relationships. They get married. The first balagan they have, oh my God, like a baby, like you're going to the daycare. Daycare. Why? Why daycare? Where's the working on the midot? Why, instead of going out and talking about things that are important, you're talking about nonsense? Why? Because you have a tava? One wrong, remember, marriage is the most beautiful thing on planet Earth, but only if you marry the right person. If you do not marry the right person, it is the most miserable thing in the world. The right person, meaning if a person wants to work on themselves. Nobody's perfect. Everybody has flaws. But you must be willing and ready to understand that I need to fix myself. I have to put my ego down, my gava, that I have my gava and boots, to put it down and to understand that I need to work on my midot. I need to. And this is the basis. This is the foundation. And if you're not willing to do this, you're not willing to start a family. You know, David HaMelech writes, "Ka'ayel tarog alafi keimayim ken nafshi tzaman elokim." The same way how a deer is seeking water to drink when it's thirsty, I am seeking you, Hashem, for your guidance. You know what we're talking about? The Ari says that David HaMelech finished his whole soul, his whole Naran Chai. Do you know what even that is? No other human being on planet Earth, even Mashiach, will not do such a thing. Such an accomplishment. David HaMelech's life was full of redifot. First from his father, and then his brothers, and then from his father-in-law, then from his wife, and then from his kids. Do you know what kind of miserable life that man lived? And every single step of the way, you know what he said? Thank you, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Because I see the good in all the misery that people think I'm going through. The key in finding yourself is tefillah. You can go out with 1,000,000 girls, you can go out with 1,000,000,000 guys, but if you don't pray, if you don't ask for guidance from HaKadosh Baruch Hu, you're going to go in a circle forever. Forever. Yes, man, you got to go to Minyan in the morning. You have to stop being lazy and you have to daven. You have to go to Shacharit, you have to go to Mincha, and you have to go to Arvit. Why? It teaches you responsibility. It teaches you structure. Rabbi, I'm not just pointing on you. I'm just speaking. I'm just saying, in fact, if you see a guy that doesn't keep Torah mitzvot, I'm not saying you should find a guy that keeps Torah mitzvot. If that's your prerogative, good for you. But why did HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us the Torah mitzvot? He gave us for one reason. So you should be able to structure your life properly. So you should be able to guide your husband the right way. You're not getting married to be a kiruv case. She's not your case. She's not one of your numbers that you have to just check. Yes, I made her today daven. I made her cover her hair. I made her wash the greens. No. It's not a kiruv case for you. You're not here. We're not doing Baal Tshuvas at home. We're not doing it. You don't need to do it. If you do your research properly, you don't need to do it. Now, a person should understand that the dating process shouldn't take more. Gag, 3 months. Gag means the roof. This is even. I'm even stretching it. If you don't have a decision by 3 months, it's a big issue. It's a huge issue. That means someone's taking someone on a joyride and they don't even know it. If you can't come down and speak to them after such a long time going out, what's the maskana? Because whatever you found out a month, it's not going to change in 3 months. It's not. It just won't. It's an illusion that Hollywood puts in your brain.
Can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You said that they're about change. Like, they should be willing to work on their change. And a person going out with someone who is whose problem is a non-negotiable, do you still work on the change?
You need to give me an example. Non-negotiable. I'll give you an. Let me understand something. If a person is a kasan, he has anger management. Now I know a lot of people are going to say you never marry in anger management. Let's say you did. Well, you did. You didn't know. You didn't realize. Or you did. You thought you were going to work on it. And the guy in the relationship, you're already married, Munay. I know you're talking about before you're married. If you see that he's not working on himself, you should seek guidance how to make it that he should work on himself. Let me explain something about men. Men that feel valued are willing to die for you. I want you to understand this fact. This is not an Instagram meme. This is a fact of life. Fact of life. When a man feels valued and respected, not because he's the king and you're some slave. That's not what I said. I didn't say that. Get that out of your head. Get that out of your head. I never said that. I respect my wife like she's the queen. You want to know why? Because I know at home I'm the king. And even though she'll tell me to do stuff and I will do it without even saying anything. But I know me and my wife have respect towards one another. If you see that the person, it's not negotiable, he's cheap. Ya Habibi, he's such a kamtsan. Forget about it. And you know you can't live with that person, then what are you trying to make peace with? And you, again, there's the traditional way of dating, and then there's the modern way, and there's the shidduch way. In the shidduch world, a girl will never in her life tell the guy, listen, you're too cheap, I can't live with you. You know what she's going to do? She's going to send a shadchan or someone that sends her up and said, it's not working out for me. And call it a day. End of story. But unfortunately, I call it a fortune, not an unfortunate. We live in this community, we have a mixed crowd. But Nagid, you know the guy. You're going out. You're open with him. He's open with you, whatever that means. If that's good or bad, I'm not talking about. But you are. And you confront him and you say, Ya Habibi, I can't live like this. I cannot live with you calculating every single penny. And he doesn't want to change, this is who he is. Then you answer the question. Would you be able to live with such a person? I don't think so.
No, but I'm saying, because you said that there's things that are non-negotiable. You should know what you're non-negotiable.
Correct.
What not to compromise.
Correct.
So if you have your non-negotiable sayings, like let's say it's something like Shabbat. If you have your non-negotiables,
Shabbat is not a...
says like, oh, well, I'm trying to keep it, I'm starting to keep it, if you give it a chance or not.
Okay, so you asked two different questions, and I'm gonna break it down. There's something called midot, characteristic traits, and there's something called values. It's two different things. You can't say, I have a value not to talk to people that are angry. It's impossible. But you could have a value of having a certain crowd that has the same hashkafa as you. That's something totally different. From my experience, I'm going to tell you this very straightforward. From my experience of seeing the world, when a guy says, or when even a girl says, I'm going to start being more tzanu after I get married, or I will start keeping Shabbat or Kashrut after I get married, usually, and again, I don't want to give you a definite answer, but 90% stop, drop, and roll. Because this is who he is. He's not going to change that for you. He needs to change. The Torah mitzvot has to be changed for him. When a person is forced into doing Torah mitzvot, he starts to rebel against it. He'll rebel against his parents, but when he gets married, he thinks he's free and he doesn't care already at that point. Now, don't get me wrong, there are many times that it's totally the opposite. That the man gets married, he doesn't keep Torah mitzvot, but the woman is a chachama, or the man's a chacham. I'm going to give you an example. Before I got married, I didn't want my wife to wear a wig. I didn't want. I felt for my hashkaf, for my family, for where I come from, for who I am, for what I do. I didn't want my wife to wear a wig. But she said, I insisted. It's not a question. I insisted. Okay, you insisted. But I told her, please guarantee or tell me that you're gonna one day drop the wig. She said, yes, maybe, I'll think about it, whatever the case is. At the end, she said yes. Okay. Every time she wore a mitpachat, she got the biggest compliment of her life. The biggest. She looked good, she didn't look good, it was irrelevant. It was the concept behind it. Anytime she wore a wig, she didn't get a compliment for the wig. Did she look beautiful? Most definitely. But every time she heard the compliment that she was wearing a mitpachat, automatically, psychologically, in her head, what did she say? My husband likes this more. And automatically she wanted to, and she dropped it. Ya Habibi, after a year and 8 months, she took her wig, which costed $5,000, and she gave it away. She said, bye-bye. What happened? No, because a lot of men and women don't know this because they're mitumtamim b'moach. We live in a generation of imbeciles, I'm sorry to say. You don't know how to use your mouth. You don't know how to talk properly. You can get your spouse to do kimat almost anything. You just have to know how to speak. The problem is people are they don't want to put their ego down. I should give it in. If I'm getting a compliment, that means she's doing something right. You such a... Where you come from which world even donkeys don't think like you. Even they don't think like you. But the ego is so high that they're not willing to sacrifice their own respect just to get for the long run a change. Now, if someone's already married and they're living a miserable life and so on and so forth, I will tell you, if they would put their ego down, the spouse, majority of the time, and the spouse knows how to speak properly, you can convince the person. And I've seen it with my own eyes with people that I know. But if a person is going to say, oh, listen, you do you, I do me. I told you I was in the Shem Yishmael. I heard the story. I couldn't think straight. I was in Jackson for Shabbos in New Jersey. My friend told me there was a couple, I think they were 60 years old. The week after their youngest child, Shevar Bachot, they went to Beit Din to get a get. Did you hear what I just told you? They lived their whole marriage, they raised their kids just for the peace of the kids. The second the kids were no more involved in that relationship, they went to the court, they said, it was nice knowing you, we spent a lot of good times together, but more miserable times. Here's the get, start a new life. You know what the issue was? No one was willing to put down their ego. Sickening, disgusting. Imagine living 50, 40 years together in misery, pure misery. How can someone even want that? I couldn't speak. I told my friend, Naliva, I cannot. I need to drink. I can't. How you tell me such a story? He said, imagine what kind of sick people there are out there. Why? Because no one's willing to work on themselves. Now again, this is already when you get married. But before you're married, if you see the person, how do most people, that eventually they will change their midot? Is if they have hadracha, if they have a rabbi. If they have someone that they speak to. If they have someone that you can speak to on their behalf. When you have that, you should understand something. When you have hadracha, automatically you feel in a way. That's why it's very important to know who your Rebbe is. Very important. Why? Because a Rebbe has to know how to pinpoint his Talmud in a way without hurting him, but in the same time making him understand that he's wrong. When a Talmud can do that, when a Rebbe can do that, anyone can change. If a Rebbe cannot do that, remember my words. If your Rebbe doesn't speak to you in a way that you want to change your Rebbe. Change him as fast as possible. The Ari says in Shar Gilgulim, Hagdama Yud and Hagdama Yud Aleph, a connection between a student and a rabbi is such a spiritual, it's not a physical thing. You don't know why, you just click to this guy. Or you click to this mother, you just don't know why. You just click. You just, that click, I always hate using the word click, but I have to use it in this case. Because when you meet a rabbi for the first time and you feel connected, it's a zivug, he's like your father. He has your neshama from Sheshet Yemei Bereshit. These are the words of the Ari. These are not my words. You can look it up. Shar Gilgulim, Hagdama Yud Yud Aleph. You have to understand, when you have a madrich, the only thing that will ever save any relationship for you personally is when you have someone that you can speak to and guide you properly. I hope I answered your question. If I didn't answer it, ask it again. So again, after you go and you make your decision, you like the person, you want to move on. You want to move along, so on and so forth. Now Rabbi say, this what I'm about to tell you varies by every family is different, every community is different, and so on and so. I can only speak for this community, for what I know. Fortunately, I'm not Ashkenazi. Fortunately, I'm saying it with pride. Fortunately, I'm a Sfaradi, and even more fortunately, I'm Bukhari. I have my pride, very big pride. Growing up, one time in high school, my 9th grade Rebbe, Hashem should give him a long life. He said something that really bothered me. He said, most Gedolei Hador were Ashkenazim. And I was listening to it and I was dumbfounded. Yeah, maybe he's right. I went home. I go to my father and my brother. Talmidei Chachamim. They started to laugh. They laughed. They're like, bring me your notebook, pen and notebook. Come. And they start writing from the beginning of creation until nowadays, all the tzaddikim were the Sfaradim. He said, what's the difference? Ashkenazim know how to make from a little zvuf into a big peel. Sfaradim don't know how to do that. We don't know how to bring up our Gedolei Hador. We just keep them quiet. They were tzaddikim, they lived in a cave and everything's all good. Ashkenazim, the rabbi goes, oh, he made it snow. Oh my God, he saved someone's life. It's good, it's true, they did that. They were Gdolim, I'm not speaking bad about them. But never ever, this is why Rav Ovadia he's the king of Sfaradim. Why? He said you have to have pride of who you are. Don't ever lower yourself, ever in your life for nobody. You should have pride of who you are. If you're an Ashkenazi, you should have pride that you're Ashkenazi. I'm not chassom putting them down, I'm just saying how you're supposed to have pride that you're a Sfaradi. Why am I saying this? Because unfortunately, in Queens or by the Sephardi culture, if you're more yeshivish, there's a different way how to go about what I'm about to tell you. If you're more traditional, there's a different way. And if you're already more American, there's another way of going through it. I'm talking about the traditional way because that's what I know. Usually after the couple, the boy and the girl, not couple yet, decide that they want to get married, they want to continue it, usually there is a proper meeting between parents. In some instances it's done before, in some instances it's done after, whatever the case is. Usually you have to understand they have to get together and there's a so on and so forth. Now here's the most crucial thing. I will not tell you my personal story online because I don't want to get it out there. Maybe if we close it, we'll tell it after. But usually when that meeting, hopefully it goes well, usually it doesn't the first time. I'm going to be very honest with you. Unfortunately, it usually doesn't go. Why? I don't blame the parents. You have to understand something. Your parents and grandparents grew up in a society and in a time of survival. When a person grows up in a mindset of survival, unfortunately, he's more negative prone than positive. Why? Because when you are in your head, you just need to survive, everything around you is bad. Unfortunately. So of course, the first meeting goes through, hopefully it goes well, and if it doesn't, you do it again until you knock some sense into the parents that they should meet, and they should put their own gaiva down and look what's good for the kids. Good for the kids. Again, you have to, when you marry off your children, you have to do what's good for the children, not what's good for everybody else around you, even though it does play effect who you marry and so on and so forth. But note, if the kids made up their decision on this fact because they're getting married, by divorce it's the exact opposite. We won't talk about that because hopefully that doesn't come to anyone's situation or circumstances. You have to understand, with their cheretz, you make the meeting, you do the engagement as soon as possible. The halakha says you can even get engaged on Shabbat. You can even get engaged in the 9 days. You can get engaged anytime. Why? Just to seal the deal. Just to seal the deal. I think even on Tisha B'Av you can do an engagement. You can just to seal it. Close the deal. They're getting married. You have to get married. You're getting married. Done. It's done. Now, this is the most crucial part. Remember this, because you will understand when you get to this point. The engagement, from when you eat the sugar, or whatever the community's minhag is, right? Either in private or public, it's irrelevant, right? When you eat the sugar, most people won't know, but I'll tell you, by our culture, we give sugar out when we make a l'chaim, as we say by the Ashkenazim. We give out sugar to the couple. Why? To show that their future should be sweet and continuous, only bring good fruits out of them. When you eat that sugar until you get married, remember, the Ben Ish Chai writes black and white. That is the most hot, the most Yetzer Hara plays with relationships the most. The most when they get engaged. Why? Everything becomes an issue. Everything you can imagine is an issue. How come she looked at me like this? How come the fruit was like this? How come he didn't take a haircut? What is it to you? Why? Why bring machloket? Do you enjoy doing junk? You get a satisfaction. 1 second, I'm in a row. Don't buzz. Kill me. Why do you enjoy it? Why do you enjoy putting your kids through misery? Explain to me which enjoyment. I don't know what kind of enjoyment do you have to even cause yourself misery? For what? For what you putting yourself through misery? That's it. When you're engaged, it should be as fast as possible, because you already made your decision that you're married. It should be enough time for you to find a place. We're not going to talk about that right now because we're going to get into a very controversial topic. To find a place, get ready for the wedding, make sure all the guests can come wherever they want. You see, when they make the wedding, they're planning how the aunt, not just one aunt, the great aunt's aunt, how will she make it from the other side of the world to come to your wedding? Which I don't even know why is that shaykh. That has nothing to do with the couple. That has to do with the great aunt and her great aunt. That has nothing to do with you. As soon as possible, the engagement shouldn't take more than 3 months. It shouldn't. And you will see, if you track people that you know, when the engagement took long, it just was full of misery. And when they got married, that misery poured into their marriage. And instead of having a happy life in the beginning of their marriage, it was all balagan. Based on what? Shtuyot mitzklaniot. Pure nonsense. Pure nonsense. Pure. You look back at it when you're going to be married for 10, 15, 20 years, you'll see, wow, we were such idiots. We fought over such stupidity. That's when a person makes a decision, that's it. That's it. It's done. It's a done deal. I have an answer to your question, actually, that you asked me. We'll talk about it after. No. Go.
Say a person is in yeshiva learning whatever it is while he's in shidduchim. Is it recommended to push off the engagement or marriage until then his monarch if he knows it's going to distract him from his learning? Say it's in the middle of the table.
You want to know what I'm going to answer to that?
What?
The second you get engaged, you're already distracted.
So should he push it off? Or not?
No, he shouldn't push it off. Don't be a tzaddik on the cheshbon of everybody, especially on her cheshbon. Don't be a tzaddik right now. I want to learn Bad Mada. I know. Really, when you're engaged, you really want to learn Bad Mada. Why? Because you don't have to worry anymore about finding a shidduch. But at the same time, you don't have to worry about paying your rent. Why? Because you're learning Torah right now. I'm done. I'm set, right? Really, in the Olam HaYeshiva engagement time, there are Hasidim that get engaged for 8 months. They're engaged. And you know how many times they talk to their one that's engaged, who they're engaged to? Twice. In 8 months, talking to him or her twice. For what? For an hour conversation. And they call that, wow, right? You're not going to... Be honest to yourself. I'm not here to put them down. This is their mahala. This is the way they live. That's good for them. I'm not putting them down at all. Good for them. Kol hakavod lahem. But don't think overnight you're going to change who you are. Because you won't. You will not. As soon as you get engaged, you count 3 months and you get married. End of story. Don't make cheshbonot, shamayim, va'aretz, gedol ador, this one's coming, that one's... No one's coming. You're getting married. That's it. You have to know you have to get married. And then you can have Ben Azmanim with her together. That's what you can do. But don't now make the whole cheshbon. I know people do this cheshbon, especially if they're in college, whenever they have the semester off, whenever they can this, and they have winter break, summer break, this break, that break. Okay, maybe in certain circumstances, maybe, but try not to. Because anyone that's married will tell you, especially in the modern world now that we live in, when it's the engagement, it's the most tough time. And Rabbi say, men, let's be honest. I know a couple that broke the shidduch over a set of plates that they wanted to buy from Bed Bath & Beyond. Oh my God, when I heard this story, I was like, they're crazy. They don't even know what marriage is. They fight over a set of plates, what to put on the register, on their register. I buckled out. I said, this is crazy, no? This is crazy.
You go.
Yeah, it's mituntam. But Rabbi said, listen to me. When you reach that point of engagement, besides where you're supposed to live or where you want to live, that's discussed between both of you, men, focus carefully. The house, let them decide it. They want green drapes, orange, they want a bed like this, no problem. It shouldn't bother you. It shouldn't bother you. If she asks you, what do you think? Let's think together. Be a chacham. Say, I like both. Which one do you like better? I like this one. That's it. Let's get that one. Well, I just solved a whole month of problems in one sentence. Why can't men think like this? Ego, right? Gava. My Rebbe told me one thing. He told me, choose your battles right. Because when you choose them right, she'll know when you're fighting, you're not joking. If for every little instant, every little thing you're going to make a big deal about, why, what's going to be with you when you get married? And a woman is not stupid. They're not dumb. I promise you, they're smarter than you. They will detect you better than when you go to the airport. Elal, did you pack your bag? Did you this? Who else is gonna pack it? Who's gonna do it for me? Do you have a knife? Yeah, I'm gonna tell you I have a knife. Yeah, habibi. I'm gonna tell you I'm carrying a machete in my pocket, right? That's really smart of you, right? They're better than that. They will read you inside out better than you can imagine. So be levater. I know your mother's gonna come. Why should she decide everything? Be the man. So I am the man. I'm deciding to give her this responsibility. That was my decision. I am the man. What's the problem? What is the problem? What is the big deal? Explain to me. Because she wants this kind of place or this kind of thing. Come on. Use the seichel. Don't fight over stupidity. You know what you should fight about? Where your bookshelf is going to be. That's what you should fight about. That's what you should fight about. You should fight, where's the mezuzot going to be? From where are you getting your mezuzah from? From where are you going to learn Torah, your schedule? You're fighting about chitzoniyut, things that don't make sense. This is the way God... I'm not now saying I'm pro-woman or pro-man. I'm pro-reality. Reality, Rabbi said, hate the reality of life. And the reality of life is, do not fight over things that won't mean anything to you. When you go home and you see a drape, the color green or yellow, you won't even care. You won't care. When I was building my house, I told my wife like this. You can build whatever you want. Anything you desire, you can get. Because you know what she told me? It's so hard building a house with you. That's what she told me. She said, I want you to give me your insight. I said, but I don't care. I told her, you want the faucet gold? Make it gold. You want it silver? Make it silver. Does it bring out water? I care that it has water. If it doesn't have water, what's to me if it's going to be gold, green, yellow, or blue? What is it to me? For what do I care? I said, I care about one thing in my house. How the mikveh is built. I have a mikveh in my house. I told her, the only thing I care is that mikveh. That's the only thing I care about. You want to know why she let me pick the whole mikveh? Because she knew for me, that was the most important thing in that house. I'm going to find out what door I'm going to get. I'm not happy the door she got, but I didn't care. Why? I tell you, she knows it already. You know why? Because I gave her that responsibility. And every time I look at the door, I don't care anymore. Because I gave her that respect that she's going to pick it. End of story. And when I went to get my bookshelf, I have a bookshelf from this wall longer, even longer. When my Talmidim saw my bookshelf, their mouths dropped. Longer than this, maybe another other half like that. She didn't even peep. Peep! I got a custom made, it cost me a fortune. But she knew, this for my husband means the world. Now I'm gonna go fight what kind of faucet, what kind of lock to put on the door. Ya habibi, and I'm not trying to stress this out because I want to praise myself. You have to learn. You have to learn where to make a big deal about. You don't make big deal about things that are not gonna matter to you in the next 2 minutes. It's not gonna bother you anything, zero. And you should make a big deal the way you want your house. No? You're gonna come home, you're gonna want to see it, you're gonna want to clean it. You're not gonna want to go to a house that's all gonna be lo balach. I don't want it. I don't like it. What kind of house? Especially if she compromised to live in a place that you want to live. You know what my house is? This is not why I compromise, but you know where I live? I have to say it online because people think this doesn't exist anymore. Here's my father's house. Here's my house. Right, we share the same wall. Rabbi said. Now I told this to an Ashkenazi, he said, Hashem Yerachem. Hashem Yerachem. Oh my God, Hashem Yerachem. You know what I told that guy? Hashem Yerachem, you don't know your grandkids. Hashem Yerachem. Hashem Yerachem, you don't know your family. Hashem Yerachem on you. You want to know why? Because my kids are going to grow up with another set of derech eretz in the house. Why? They know Saba Safta is going to come in any second. If they're not on their tip top, they're going to get it. I know he's a rabbi.
It's different.
It's not different. No different, ya habibi.
He has very good midot.
No. Doesn't make. You should know something. He has excellent midot. Don't get me wrong. He has excellent midot. But when a grandfather sees the grandchild getting out of line, he mechanachs him different than when he sees a talmid. Because at the end of the day, that's his son. That's like his son. So my kids know. Saba, Safta, right next door. If they just shout a little bit that's not supposed to, they'll walk in. They'll walk in. You say free babysitters. Yeah, they are. My mother raised my kids. I cannot fathom how, unfortunately, a kushit, I see this, it bothered me when I lived in a building. I see all these beautiful kids, and there's one kushit taking care of 4 Jewish boys. And they're calling her mommy. When I saw that, my wife looked at me, she's like, Baruch Hashem, we have parents. Baruch Hashem, she told me with her own mouth, Baruch Hashem. She said, I wouldn't be able to live with myself if my child called someone else mommy. Why? To make money to give to the nanny. That's why you're working. Matosah. But again, that has to do with something that they have to discuss before they get married. That has nothing to do with anything. And why am I telling this, Rabbi Sai? I'm not here to boast or to praise anybody. When you are in the stage of engagement, besides the halachic things that you need to be machmir in, trust me, don't care about it. Don't care about it. Who's the DJ? Who's the singer? Who's this? Just let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Let it go. It's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. You're going to make a fight, a scandal, a jang for something that's going to be for 3-4 hours. I know a couple that almost broke off their marriage because one wanted a band and one just wanted a DJ. I was like, just let it go, man. They want a band, pay the extra $2,000-$3,000 and call it a day. You're going to ruin your whole life because of this thing. You're going to marry right then. I know you will. But now you're going to fight. You're going to go to your in-laws' house. They're going to look at, for what do you need this nonsense? Be a chacham. Be a chacham. He listened and he got married. And he's happy. You don't need this. You don't need it. I'm telling you, you don't need it. And it's not going to make a difference. You're never going to even watch your wedding video. You'll watch it once or twice when you get it. And then you're like, okay, we'll watch it on our anniversary. Anniversary passes, you go out, you forget about it. I'm married for many years. Maybe I watched my wedding 3-4 times. Who cares? It's a memory. The kids will watch it one day. Okay.
Isn't it important to notice that, like how the other person is reacting to these issues?
100%. 100%. That's why I'm telling these guys, don't overreact. That's exactly why I'm saying it. Because I'm telling you, this is why a lot of people break their shidduchim. Because they see a guy going crazy over things that are, it's not even it's really not your department. I'm sorry to tell you that. Oh, you're segregating men and women. I am. This is a fact of life. It's a fact of life. I'm sorry to tell you this. It's a fact of life. What are you doing in that? What are you doing? Who cares? Yes, you'll cook. Yes, you'll clean. You'll help your wife. You will. It's a fact. It's a given. You'll cook the Shabbat food. You'll do everything. And don't tell me men don't do it. When I went to Eretz Yisrael, I went to Rav Mutzafi's house. Gadol Ador nowadays. I didn't end up eating in his house. I ate in his son's house. I think his name is Yecheskel. I was in his house for Shabbat with two of my friends. We're called the Three Musketeers, us three, but okay. And Rabbi, okay, yeah, those three, we're called the Three Musketeers. Everyone knows we're always looking for something to do, right? The guy comes, he said, how's the fish? I said, good. You know what he said? I cooked it. Goes, next meal, he brings out a big lamb foot. Puts on the table, how's the meat? I said, delicious. I cooked it. He didn't say because, oh, my wife doesn't do anything. Chas v'chalila. He said, tzaddikim they used to be preparing the food for Shabbat. They used to be preparing food on Shabbat. There's nothing wrong with getting your hands dirty. Absolutely not. I'm for helping. You don't believe me? Pick up the phone, call my wife. I don't want to swear. Call my wife, she'll tell you exactly. I cook the baksh if I need to cook the baksh. I roll up the toki if I need to do it. I do everything you can imagine. Not because she can't, because it's my job to help. It's my responsibility. Nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with getting your hands dirty. Lahefech, a man. You want to show that you're a man? Get your hands dirty. That's called being a man. Oh, my parents, if they would see me do this, you know what they would do to you? They would break your hands and feet. Okay, I'm not married to your parents. Baruch Hashem. Baruch Hashem. That's it. End of story. Conversation done. Bye-bye. Put the ego down. Break the gava. Break it. Break the gava. I promise you, you'll be so happy once you break your gava. I don't usually tell people to watch certain things. The Meaningful Minute came out with a podcast that I said I need to hear. When I heard this podcast, I really enjoyed it. It taught me something very interesting. I don't feel like sharing it in public, and I think everyone should hear it. Everyone knows Rabbi Chaimov, right? He has a son, his eldest son, Rabbi Asaf Chaimov. He was on the Meaningful Minute. It's like an hour and 21 minutes. I want you guys to listen to it. Do your due diligence and just listen to the whole thing straight. No interruptions, not with friends, by yourself. And if that doesn't change the way you think about certain things, then we need to have a deeper conversation. I'm not going to spoil it for you. Listen to it. Side point. After you've done that and you're getting engaged and everything's fine and you're planning your wedding, talk as minimum as possible. Doesn't mean now that you're engaged you have to start acting like you're married. Do not do that mistake. I'm telling you, even though it sounds very pathetic what I'm telling you now, the less you speak to the person, the healthier it is. The healthier it is. You're not here, you're not here to be the 10-10 wins. You know what my mother said about you? You know what my father said? Keep all your comments of what happens in your house to yourself. It's none of anyone's business. It just brings bigger issues. Bigger issues. Yes?
But in this quick time that you're doing this, don't you have to get to know the person? So if you have minimal effort, how do you know if, like, when you get married, you guys won't
you did maximum efforts. Yeah, I want you to understand something. I know where you're coming from. You're coming from a very secular world. And in this secular world, it teaches you that you should go out for 10 years, live with the person. Nothing against you. Absolutely nothing. I understand where you're coming from. I'm not a caveman. Actually, we both look like cavemen. It's the wrong way. And you know what my proof is? A simple proof, statistics. Look at their divorce rate and look at our divorce rate. Not only don't they have a happily ever after living 10 years together, they get divorced after half a year. Where's the chokhmah? You want to know why? Because no matter what you're going to do before you're married, you're not going to give your 100% to the person. It's only when you get married and you know till death do us part, even though it's a goyish saying, but it's, I think, one of the only normal sayings that they have, till death do us part. You know, it's not even, because after death you're still together. You will realize how much you really need to work on yourself. And you will also realize how much you need to work on yourself. It's a fact of life. No one is perfect. If you would be perfect, you wouldn't be put down on this earth. The fact that you're not perfect means that you could be perfect. And that's why God paired you up with her. Because she's the only one that can take out that goodness from you. But how? She's giving me so much hell. Or but how? He's giving me so much hell. Yeah, by you working on that. When you work on that, you become a perfect person. But how? Because if that's the problem, then that's the only thing that you need to work on. And if it wouldn't be a problem, you wouldn't need to work on it. It's very simple. How come people don't get it? Because they have ego. No one's willing to put the first step and put their head down. So be the better man or be the better woman, whatever the case of the relationship is, it's irrelevant. It's irrelevant. And go face it. Understand that you have to put, sometimes you have to put yourself down in order to go higher up. I think that should cover most of the things. Rabbi say next class is the 5th class. I'm going to be very honest with you. At this point, and the 5th class, I want you guys, whoever knows my number, whoever doesn't know my number, get it from someone that has it. I want you to text me your questions. I want it to be done at least before Thursday, so I can sit down and discuss. You know, every time I give a class, I run it through a couple people. I don't just come one day out of the blue and say, Rabbi Sai, I have advice for you. No. I run it through my own Rebbe. We go through different aspects. We talk about, to prepare for certain shiuri, my Rebbe makes me learn like books, literally books. He said, you have to understand this word you said, you have to learn this whole book. But in order to get the answer for it, you have to learn this whole book. So I'm the whole week busy learning books just to come to give you an hour-and-a-half class. And it betters me. And I'm not complaining. I'm happy about it. So I think for everyone's well-being and safety, whoever has any questions, text them in. You can WhatsApp or regular text. I'm not a boogeyman. I won't stalk you. I'm not into that kind of stuff. Send me your questions so I can go through it very thoroughly. I'm not going to say I'm going to answer it all in one class. I'm not giving a podcast. I'm not just saying 1, 2, 3. Every question needs, at the end of the day, to be broken down, to be explained properly. But all I will tell you again, and a big, huge reminder, don't stretch the time. If you're not sure, take the time you need to be sure. I'm not telling you that you have a time, 3 months, that's it. No. If you like the person, but you still have certain things that you're not sure about, take the extra 2 dates. Take the extra 3 dates. Consult with your Rav. Consult with the Mashpia. I will not tell you to consult with the Shadchan for different reasons. It depends if the Shadchan is 100% Lishma, which I don't know who is, who's not. Whoever's in Shidduchim understands exactly what I am talking about. Consult with your Rav. Consult with your Mashpia. Consult with someone that you feel close to, Madricha, and so on and so forth. Take your time. But that doesn't mean now, once you made up your mind, you have to stretch it like you're going archery right now. That's not what I said. Take your time until you made your decision. Should a man go out with more than 2 girls at the same time? Absolutely not. Should a girl do it? It's not so far-fetched. I've heard about it. You should not do it because you ruin yourself, you cloud yourself, you make yourself into sfekot, you start comparing, and at the end of the day, they both will leave you and you'll be left alone. You asked me a question, I'm going to confront it. Should a person, if he sees a girl in the street, should he confront her? After a lot of thinking about it, I don't think it's the right thing to do, and I'll tell you why. You know, self-respect is extremely important. Both parties. If you see someone that you like, I'm not telling you not to take your phone and take pictures of her. I never said that. Someone told me when I was in the Shabbat, and a guest came. He said, "Yeah, just take a picture." And I was like, "What are you, a stalker? It's retarded for you? You're gonna go take pictures of girls right now? Say I want to go out with her." I know back in the day they thought that was cute. You know, you're fighting for me. No, we don't live that way anymore. You're not fighting for anyone. You're not. I would personally suggest you to try to find out who she is, if it's possible. And if not, it wasn't meant to be. But you shouldn't put yourself, I wouldn't say downgrading. A person needs to have a sense of self-respect. It's a sense of self. You know, when you act a certain way, you draw to yourself that koach. It's very important. In the Torah Sod, it's talked about a lot. When you have a certain way you dress, and a certain way you act, in a certain environment you have, everything is mashpia. Everything somehow connects to you. Somehow it gives you a certain feeling. It gives it to you. Do your due diligence to find out who it is. Because if that's what you really want, that's what you should strive to get. But do it properly. Do it properly. It's not a bad question. Doesn't mean now that you're crazy. You're not crazy. You had a question, you asked it, and you understood why I feel that it's wrong. If you go to someone else, he might tell you it's right. I spoke to my Rebbeim about it, and they said it's not a proper thing to do. It's not a tsanua thing what I did. It's not a modest thing. I know we live in a society. I don't need to explain to you. I'm sorry, I don't need to explain to you. At the end of the day, you want a guy that's a ben adam, it's a odam, and you want a girl that is, it's a malka. A malka has a certain way she acts, has a certain way she dresses, has a certain way she represents herself. To each one to their own derech. Okay? So please, whoever has any questions, send it over. We're going to finish this class with this, and I have something to say after. Thank you.